Hey everybody, happy Sunday. It is me, OC Steve. I'm trying out the live stream function of StreamYard finally, so bear with me as we go through this. This is going to be a brief review of Transformers Rise of Beasts. I got out to the Cineplex yesterday, so I thought I'd just share some of my thoughts and comments. Overall, I thought it was a pretty damn good movie. I mean, it's about 2 hours and 16 minutes of Autobot Terracon action fun. It consists of a voice cast of Ron Perlman as Optimus Primal, Peter Cullen coming back as Optimus Prime, and surprisingly enough, Pete Davidson himself doing a pretty damn phenomenal job as Mirage. I had my reservations originally about him portraying Mirage, but truth be told, he was actually a pillar of that movie and not necessarily a detriment like I thought he was going to be. So I gave him the benefit of a doubt. I thought he did a phenomenal job. You have Anthony Ramos as kind of hashing out the live action character protagonist as the form of Noah Diaz. And I thought he did a pretty phenomenal job in the movie too. Set in the 1990s, right in the middle of the 90s, around 1994. It's a continuation of the Bumblebee film. Honestly, I think Bumblebee was still a better film nonetheless. This is directed by Stephen Caple Jr., the guy who did Creed 2. It's pretty much what he's really known for at this point in time. Cinematically, it was good. I thought it was shot well. The Autobots were, it's kind of standard stock. If you're not the biggest Transformers fan, I don't highly recommend seeing it in theaters. Maybe wait for it to show up on streaming. I'm pretty sure it'll be out on Paramount Plus, Amazon Instant Streaming, or wherever you rent your online videos is an easy way to find it. But this was the 7th film in the Transformers live action adaptation. So I get that there is the 7 installment inch for a lot of people, but Bumblebee was a soft reboot, and I thought they did a pretty phenomenal job with that. So this was also the debut of the Maximals. Now, I get where that's polarizing for a lot of Transformers fans. I get it that you either love it or you hate it when it comes to Beast Wars and Beast Machines. But growing up as a kid in the 90s, I mean, I got to appreciate what they did with it. That was some very rudimentary animation at the beginning at best. Look at how Optimus Primal looks here versus the portrayal in the movie. Also, the voice acting is 8 times better with Ron Perlman. I just enjoy his voice. I've enjoyed his work ever since Hellboy. So I thought he brought some life to Optimus Primal in that regard. So that's just at least my 2 cents there. Like I said, Pete Davidson knocked it out of the park. Michelle Yeoh is Air Razor. We don't really get to see her transform in the movie itself, but hey, you know what? She's still a phenomenal voice actress, so I appreciate that she was a part of the cast for this. So, it's just a movie it does have 2 post-credit scenes, so I would highly recommend sticking around for that. I'm going to also share some other thoughts about this too. One of the post-credit scenes in particular shows Noah going for a security job. Originally, at the beginning of the movie, he tries to go out there and is met with some resistance from a former CO. He saves the world, obviously. It's a very Transformers kind of stereotypical thing. The Autobots come to Earth. They fight a big bad. But this time we had the Maximals. We had the cinematography of Peru, which I thought was pretty damn phenomenal. And he goes for an interview at the end of the movie for a pizza packing plant, which doesn't necessarily end up being that because he meets with a recruiter and he hands him a card. And on that card is G.I. Joe. So now we're starting to see the larger shared universe of Hasbro respectively. So I think that honestly, Unicron is going to probably be the big bad for everything when it comes to G.I. Joe and the shared Hasbro universe. So, I mean, you got him right here. I don't think that that's a threat single-handedly that the Autobots can take on themselves along with the help of the Maximals. They barely stopped him from coming from Earth in this movie. So I think having G.I. Joe merge with the Transformers and maybe even potentially Mask. There's a soft little reference to Mask in there where they go, hey, can't you turn into a helicopter or a speedboat? And he's like, no, not really. So you could kind of tell that they're at least trying to reference another property that's owned by Hasbro in it. But the character I think that Noah is going to be portraying, at least if by being recruited by G.I. Joe, in my mind, is the communications officer for G.I. Joe, which is Breaker. So if you're familiar, if you're not, I put up the card here. You can check it out. I thought it was pretty neat that they kind of referenced his military background and history. didn't have the best track record of following orders, but I think with him being recruited by G.I. Joe, it's going to be pretty rad to check that out. I'm hoping that maybe they can get The Rock after the failure that was Black Adam. Maybe he's looking at joining franchises yet again. He kind of had to eat crow with the Fast and Furious series. And I think that this is a great way to bring him back as Roadblock. If they don't want to bring him back as Roadblock, I'm fine with having Terry Crews come back along with that too. Keep the Joe cast small. It's because the emphasis is this is kind of like a comic book format where they are guest stars in a larger Transformers movie. It's a nice way to soft reboot that franchise after the failure that was Snake Eyes. In my mind, it wasn't the greatest film whatsoever. So they get to retool it, they get to reboot it, and if it works, then they can break it off and make it its own thing in G.I. Joe. So going and closing, I enjoyed Rise of Beasts. It's one of the better Transformer films. Still my two personal favorites are Bumblebee. That movie was great for a live action adaptation of Transformers. And also you can't beat the 1986 animated film. So those are my thoughts. If you catch this video in the post, please like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you thought. What are your favorites? Are you a fan of the Bay films, or you can forget them and move on and you can take this new reboot of Transformers? So as always, thanks for watching, guys. This was just a little test run to try some live streams in the future, and I will catch you later. Have a great weekend, and remember, till all are one.